Hey guys, hey, welcome back to the show. Hey, today we're still talking 2020 fantasy football. We put up the video of our own and avoid running backs. So today we're gonna move into wide receivers. All right. So hey, we won't waste no much time on anything. We're just gonna jump right into it today. All right. So hey, first thing we're gonna start off with is avoid. All right. And the first ones to start on my list, it's kind of a tandem here, but it's actually Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. All right, hey, these guys are going. I think they're wide receivers 4 and 5 coming off the boards this year, and man, I'm just not seeing it. All right, so the Tom Brady thing, he comes in. It's great for Tampa. I think real football, not fantasy football, real football, they should be able to win more games. All right, Tom Brady's going to play smarter. He's not going to turn the ball over as much, and they're not going to need to get into those shootouts and throw deep. And that's what we saw with Jameis Winston. I mean, it was just deep ball after deep ball after deep ball. And I think Tom Brady, obviously he can still play. He's still doing what he does, but he's not going to throw the ball 50 yards to Chris Godwin and stuff game after game. I mean, that's just not the game that Brady plays either. And so for both of them to repeat their stat lines, I mean, Chris Godwin was wide receiver 2 last year. I don't see how he can keep up with that in an offense that's gonna do better. They're gonna be smarter with the ball. They're not gonna turn it over as much. I mean, Jameis Winston had 30 interceptions last year, 30, and then compared to Tom Brady's, 8, 10 maybe this year. They're not gonna be forced to throw the ball down the field like they've been used to in the past. It's not really, there's no way they can keep up both receivers at that production. And right now, they're both going way too high for me. I see a huge regression in these guys. They're not going to be forced into that. The defense is pretty good in Tampa. I mean, obviously, we all know what the Patriots' defense was like last year, so that helped out Brady a lot. But, he had a better line in New England as well to help him block. And so I think, he won't be used to the pressure that he's going to be feeling this year. And, the run game to help him out. New England has always they've found a way to get a little bit of a run game to help him out. And, I mean, Tampa's a regression in the run game, unless for some reason Jones goes off this year finally. But he hasn't shown anything that makes us think he's going to do that. So, both these guys are just going way too high for me. To be honest, I see them both as round 3 wide receivers. There's just no way it can keep up. The touchdowns may be there, but now, you got Gronk coming in. I don't think he gets used that much. Probably more of like a 50% of the time, especially down in red zones, just for a target out there. He's lost all the weight and everything. I don't think he's not going to be a full-time tight end. But I just don't see them being able to keep up with this. And actually, both receivers, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, 9 and 8 touchdowns last season, and they might be able to repeat that, or at least one of them. But then the amount of yards and the average they had downfield, I mean, they're just not going to have that this year. I see a lot shorter passes. It's just something. It's an entire situation. I think it's the biggest bust this season. There's so much hype on Tampa now with Tom Brady, and they might actually win the Super Bowl. I don't know, but it doesn't help us in fantasy at all. I think this hurts fantasy very much, and it's an entire situation that we're just going to avoid over here. All right, hey guys, number 2 on our list for avoids, it's going to be Courtland Sutton with the Denver Broncos. They brought in Jerry Jeudy. I think the big thing that helped out Sutton last year was actually the Emmanuel Sanders trade. He went to San Francisco. And I think that's why they brought Jeudy back in, because I think they realized they need to be able to spread the ball out a little more other than just focus on Courtland Sutton. Noah Fant, tight ends take a year, 2 or 3 before they ever come around. And, I think Judy's going to come in and kind of take that Emmanuel Sanders position, probably even, for taking the top off. That only hurts Courtland Sutton. It doesn't really help him too much. Drew Lock's coming in. There's a lot of, I don't know if there's a lot of hype, but Denver seems to think very highly of him. So, but we don't have much to go off of. We'll see if that pans out pretty good for them. But I don't think it's any situation like Lamar Jackson coming in or Patrick Mahomes coming in and Drew Lock's just going to tear up the NFL. And the Broncos all of a sudden are going to go to a pass-heavy offense after they brought in Melvin Gordon and kept Philip Lindsay. Like, the whole situation just doesn't look good for Courtland Sutton. His touchdowns last season were already pretty low. And, if Noah Fant does pick up this year, then that only hurts him. And then you bring in Melvin Gordon. We know how he can catch balls out of the backfield, so can Phillip Lindsay. They can both get a lot of touchdowns out of that backfield. And I don't see this helping Courtland Sutton specifically at all. His current ADP, it's just a little high for me. There's other receivers, there's a couple other receivers I'd rather just have. I mean, even though he's the number one guy, I'd almost rather have, Ridley this year. I mean, they're just going to throw the ball a ton, and that's only going to help Ridley in that offense. So right now, we're just going to avoid the Denver Bronco wide receiver situation unless you want to take a jab on Noah Fant. But look at them for running game, not wide receivers. All right, guys. Hey, another possible, bust or avoid situation here. And, for me, that's A.J. Brown. I know a lot of people are probably going to disagree with me on this. There seems to be a lot of hype actually still around him. Everything kind of went right for Tennessee last year. And with them being such a run-heavy team, I think it's going to be hard to repeat that. I mean, he caught so many deep balls, and he had 8 touchdowns. But, Ryan Tannehill, he's a smart quarterback, and he's a good quarterback. I mean, he kind of plays... he's almost kind of like Alex Smith was, He just puts it out there a little bit, and he knows what to do with the ball. But, that doesn't really help a wide receiver out. And I think, let's not forget that Corey Davis is still on that roster. They both were pretty close in receptions, but neither one actually had a lot of receptions. A.J. Brown was, 52 receptions on the season, which for taking him as the hype that's kind of building around him as that, beginning of a third wide receiver, I'm just not feeling it. He had a 20-point whatever average or yards a game, and I just don't. I'm not feeling it. I think this one Jonnu Smith actually comes up a little bit. He's not one of my targets for like a sleeper tight end or anything, but I think that he has a very productive year. I see Tennessee maybe taking a little step back. I think they still, make a good run, and they have Derrick Henry in the run game, but it's a run-first team. Corey Davis still has talent out there, and I think, A.J. Brown had a good season, but I think it's going to be really hard to repeat in that offense, and everything just kind of went right for them at the end of the year to push into the playoffs, so we're going to be avoiding A.J. Brown. There's other guys in this kind of area that I see that should at least return value, and I think this is more of a risk play than it is like a solid choice. All right, so hey, we're moving on to, I believe this is the last avoid. I don't know, maybe I have another one on here. I think I'll probably avoid everyone pretty soon, but hey, it's Adam Thielen, all right? And I know, the hype's going to be that, it's like, oh, Stephon Diggs is gone, so who else is they going to throw to? Adam Thielen has to be, number one. He's going to get so many touchdowns and so many catches. And, I think that's actually bad for him. I don't think that pans out good. I think the loss of Stephon Diggs actually hurts Thielen. We had to put extra attention on Stephon Diggs and his ability to push the ball down the field, and now there's not. So, you're telling me in that offense, they brought in Justin Jefferson, in the draft, and, that'll probably take a while to adjust. He's not going to step in and just take that Stephon Diggs role and put up the same amount of points in play. So, I'm not seeing it. I'm not even bringing up injuries yet. We haven't even gotten to injuries yet. I'm already talking, bad about Adam Thielen. But you're telling me that a defense to go and play the Vikings, every team's just going to stack the box if Dalvin Cook plays. Right now he's talking about holding out because of his contract. And then even if he does come back, all they got to do is stack the box and then focus on Adam Thielen. There's not even another player that they kind of need to worry about. It's literally just stop those two, and that's probably the easiest thing you could do in NFL. I see the Vikings taking a huge step back this year, especially in that division. Especially, watch if Matthew Stafford can stay, healthy this year. That Lions offense, I can't believe I'm saying this, but that Lions offense could just light it up this year. There's a lot of players on there sneaky. We'll look at them, but I don't see it from Adam Thielen. All right, there's a lot of focus on, Cook, and then it's just him. Kyle Rudolph might get some more catches in there, but they can't throw the ball to Adam Thielen 25 times a game. and defenses are going to be focused on him. It's definitely a situation we want to avoid, especially with all the injury history. I mean, I don't think he's finished an entire season in 2 or 3 years, so we're going to avoid Adam Thielen, let somebody else have him. I'm sure he'll look great for the first 4 or 5 weeks of the game. We'll wish that we took him. But I think by the time the playoffs come for fantasy football, we'll be glad that he wasn't on our roster and we didn't have to deal with that headache. But look, hey, so now we're gonna move into some of the guys that I'm seeing out there. And it's not really based off ADP. Some are, but I mean, there's just some guys that are really good that I really like this year. And I was just touching base on it with the Adam Thielen, and that's actually Kenny Golladay. And I actually gotta go to both these receivers on this Lions offense. Matthew Stafford was putting up numbers last year before he got hurt. And if he comes back and can stay in, I don't see that stopping this season. They had a decent run game, before their running back went down. And then they bring in Swift now this year. And so I only see that helping the offense even more. They upped their run game. The pass is still the same, and the offense is still the same. So I don't see Kenny Golladay having any drop-off. He's probably actually one of the safest wide receivers in the entire fantasy football draft that you could take. He's kind of going in that second round. So, I mean, if all the running backs are taken at that time and you feel like you're going to have to be reaching into third-round running backs or that other tier, I think Kenny Golladay is probably the safest pick you can take here other than maybe a Travis Kelce. But I see his production only continuing, if not going up further, if Stafford's there. The other one is Marvin Jones, and we'll just talk about them both because they're on the same team, but he just keeps producing, and he's never drafted that high. But, if you come out and you pick a team that's a run heavy, or you go all running backs in the beginning and you're kind of looking for those receivers in the back end, and you're kind of taking risks, on a boom receiver or something, like a Marquise Brown or something. I mean, Marvin Jones is a good player to have on your roster for just safe points, depending on how you make your roster up. And we'll talk about that a little more in draft strategy, but there's boom players and there's safe players. And we want a boom player, but you don't want too many boom players because then you're going to go weeks with zeros. So you want those other guys that can even that out and they're safe players. And Marvin Jones is actually just one of those like I said, we're very high on these Lions receivers this year. I don't see anything negative here. Their tight end could be improved this season and maybe a couple passes go there. But, I mean, both of these guys seem to be going very good at their current ADP, and we'll be targeting them both wherever they're going. Our second own wide receiver here, for current ADP is actually going to be Odell Beckham. This is a second year with Baker Mayfield, and we all know that first year wide receiver and quarterback tandems, I mean, it just never goes too well, especially in the touchdowns. They just don't seem to have that connection. It usually takes a year or two to build that. And now they're coming back to their second year, and I really think Baker Mayfield, his touchdowns should go up, and as long as he can secure the ball more, I mean, I'm not calling him for a MVP season or anything like that, but there should be more touchdowns to pass around in this offense, and I think Odell Beckham's actually going to be the one to take those. Some people could say Austin Hooper coming in from Atlanta. I think the thing that people forget about with Austin Hooper is that he's actually a really good run blocking tight end. And so that's why a team like Cleveland would want to bring him in, is that he can still catch the ball at that tight end position, but they still want to be able to run the ball, and that's their main focus in Cleveland. So I really don't see Austin Hooper taking too much from Odell. And, him and Jarvis had that great season last year, actually. And if you want to look at Jarvis Landry's stats, and he was actually kind of a steal last season, I think that's kind of what you're going to get with Odell Beckham this year, because they were together now for their second season, and I think that's what we're going to see with OBJ and Baker Mayfield. The touchdowns should definitely be up, and he should be able to put up another 1,000-yard season as long as he can stay healthy and productive. So Odell Beckham's definitely one of those guys we'll be targeting. I think he's going right now kind of in that third round, and that's a great place for him. And especially with the other guys that are there right now, I definitely see more upside on him than possibly like a Keenan Allen in that quarterback situation out in LA. So I think everybody should be targeting Odell Beckham at his current ADP. All right, guys. Hey, next up on our own, we're kind of getting into this tandem thing. We're finding groups on the same team of players that should both be owned, and I think this gets talked about quite a bit out there. It's no surprise, but they don't seem to move up too much in ADP. I mean, Cooper Kupp does, but not Robert Woods. And hey, it's both those LA Ram wide receivers. I mean, they've been putting those numbers up, and now you're taking Todd Gurley out of that offense, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with those running backs. I mean, I think we all know LA still wants to run the ball, but they don't really have that top guy yet, or at least not solidified. So, starting the season, both these wide receivers should actually see a lot. And, Robert Woods, where he's going, I mean, they both saw the same receptions. You look at Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, I mean, both of them, 90, 94 reception yards, both 1,100 yards receiving, both averaging 12.4, and then the only difference is touchdowns. I mean, Robert Woods, the difference here, Cooper Kupp, 4th wide receiver overall last year, and Robert Woods is 14. But, if at any point those touchdowns either blend more, 2 of them go to Woods and, Cooper lost 2, then you're looking at, I mean, both probably like 5 and 6 wide receiver. Both of them, we're targeting them both. I'm seeing them going in, the 4th round. Robert Woods even seems to drop sometimes, even in the 5th, I think. I don't know, but just a very good wide receiver group that we're going to be looking for, because we know that the Rams are still going to push the ball, and they're still going to use that run game with the play action to get their wide receivers open, because that's what they like to do. I mean, if you watch the games at all, the 49ers and the Rams actually kind of run the same offense. It's a very schemed around the run game to open up the pass through the play action. The Rams seem to usually want to push the ball a little more downfield than San Francisco did, but they also lost Brandon Cooks, so they might not be able to push it down the field as much this year. We might have a lot of that play action crossing across the middles and Cooper Kupp underneath, and Higbee at tight end, he could take some passes, but these guys aren't going to see probably any regression. I mean, I could say we could see a touchdown regression in Cooper Kupp, but to be honest, I mean, he's doing it now for 2 years in a row, and I don't see a reason why he'll probably stop. I mean, the only thing I see is Robert Woods' touchdowns possibly going up, which is just great for value for us. So we'll be targeting both these guys. We'll look at Cooper Kupp. I'm starting to notice him go up a lot in ADP. I think nothing to be too worried about. People are kind of starting to get him around the beginning of the 3rd, maybe even, I don't see him in the 2nd, but he might be somewhere in that 3rd, and it starts becoming a reach at one point. He had a little injury history, but we'll keep an eye on it, but definitely target both these Rams wide receivers. Guys, hey, next one's on our list. We're going to keep those tandems like I was talking about. That's going to be the Dallas Cowboys. Amari Cooper or Michael Gallup. Hey, I try to, Amari Cooper, as far as fantasy goes, he reminds me a lot of when owning A.J. Green when he was producing. He's kind of that boomer bust. I mean, there's some weeks where he puts up 25 to 45 points, and there's some weeks where he puts up 3. And A.J. Green always kind of did that when he was playing good over there in Cincinnati. And so we like having players like that. Like I said earlier in another video or something, but we like to target those boomer bust guys, because that can be the difference in winning a game per week, as long as we can make our team lined up well with other safe players. I mean, we don't want a full team of just boom players, because we'll regret that some weeks when we only put up 20 points in our league. But I like everything that Amari Cooper does, and this Dallas offense, I mean, they're going to throw. They're going to be lighting it up this year. I think after that Zeke contract, they got it for him. They like him. But I think they're also trying to save him. I mean, they know that they need to get their money's worth, and I don't think they're going to run him straight in the dirt like they were doing his first year or two. They got Dak on the 1-year deal. I think this is definitely, Kellen Moore coming back, offensive coordinator. I mean, this team's going to be passing a lot. And then you got the addition of CeeDee Lamb, and I don't think that hurts Amari Cooper or Michael Gallup at all. They have that third string or that third wide receiver out there to catch some of those balls, and it's just a good situation for CeeDee Lamb too. He's not pressured to come in and be the guy. He can kind of learn and play and show his ability on a couple catches per game basis. But Amari Cooper is going to be that guy, and I don't see too much coming off of Michael Gallup either, actually. I think they'll ease off of Zeke a little bit, not too much. Don't reiterate what I'm not trying to make that sound like they're just up on Zeke, but I see them laying back a little bit, and this is going to be Dak's season to just, throw the ball everywhere. I think Michael Gallup still continues to do what he does. He'll probably put up another 1,000, yard season and some touchdowns. He finished wide receiver 22 last year, and Amari Cooper finished number 10. So at their current ADPs, we're targeting both these guys. Amari Cooper, he always kind of seems to slip. You can find him in the 3rd round. I think, even sometimes he might even slip into the 4th round. That's just, unheard of for the 10 wide receiver, and we know he's going to get the ball as long as he's healthy and on the field. And, people say, sometimes, well, he gets hurt. He kind of gets injured, which we've seen Amari Cooper hurt, but we've never really seen it take him out of games. I mean, he plays games injured. We've never really seen anything that just completely taken him out. And, it's kind of something I like seeing in my player is that, like, hey, even if I get him and he's out there and he's hurt, he's still going to catch a couple balls, and he's not just going to completely come off the field. So we're targeting both these guys. There's going to be a very good offense this year. They should, I don't know how good the defense will be. Maybe it'll put them in even more shootouts and they'll pass even more. But Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup are going after those Dallas wide receivers. But hey guys, all right, that's it. We'll put up another video. I got the quarterbacks and the tight ends to do still. We're going to try and look at a couple names that aren't usually talked about as much. We're trying to get off of the normal talks and get into some of those other players that we don't always hear too much about on the video. So hey, if you guys like what you're seeing, hit that like button, subscribe. We'll be putting a lot more videos out there. And like I said, here in a couple of weeks, we'll be getting more into draft strategy after we're done talking about these players and everything. But hey, until then, have a good one.